Tell us who you are and what you're about.
I'm Jude Greaves. I'm from London, England, and I'm of Jamaican Guyanese descent by way of my mother and my father, and I moved over to Japan about 4 years ago with my wife, or my wife-to-be at the time. Yeah, I'm a musician, trained musician, and a music producer.
What made you want to be a part of this film?
Well, I think it's the timing, really. Like, see, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 hit, and things musically were slowing down. So I didn't have so much of a creative output, like an active one. It was more just what I do at home in my productions. So for me, it was an opportunity to do something outside of my comfort zone that was creative, and I need that to stay sane. So I'm really grateful for that. And yeah, like I've been a dancer before. I've been a singer in the past. So acting is something that I haven't had so much experience in doing, and I felt like kind of completes that pattern a bit, yeah.
What do you think will be people's reaction to this film?
Depends who they are. I mean, like, I think anyone who watches the film, they will be maybe surprised. It's not something they've probably seen before. There's a lot of intercultural nuances that come together in a setting that is very familiar to many people, I think. Barbershop is one of those places in almost all cultures that is like a, like water cooler type of spot where people meet and talk and share themselves. It's like a group session therapy. But when you bring in the aspects of being black in Tokyo, I think it's something an experience that most people maybe haven't really thought about if they don't live here. But it's an experience that would interest people. And I think sharing that, I think people's reaction would be like intrigued, surprised, and curious. Maybe give them more questions about what it's like to live here.
How did your musical or performance background play a role in playing the part?
Well, I mean, the character Evans also comes from a musical background. So I felt like I could connect to him in that way, the kind of swagger a musician has and carries. At the same time, I feel like as a musician, I'm always like performing on stage, but actually my personality is more of that of an introvert. So when I get on stage, I have to kind of put on a personality. So already I'm kind of acting. So I feel like when it came to actually acting, it was kind of similar as stepping on stage, instead just turning the camera on.
How did you tap into that, whether it's on the film or in performance, even though like knowingly that you're an introvert?
How do I tap into that? I mean, I kind of step outside of myself, and I think it's like diving into a pool almost. It's like with both feet, just trying to take a leap, because I haven't really, as myself, like if I'm in my own head, then it's difficult to do things. But then if I kind of like jump into the pool for a second and kind of like let the experience wash over me, like wash through me, then it's like I'm not really thinking about it, I'm just doing it, just do it, rather than just like standing at the edge of the pool and just thinking about how deep is the water, just go in and check how it is.
Making this film has been a long journey for both of us, for sure. What aspects along the way did you enjoy And what did you find most difficult?
You see, I really enjoyed like the riffing off each other's lines, the chemistry between the other actors and the directors, and the just the whole crew team. It was like a nice. I think because it was such a long journey, I think we got to know each other even better. I think the challenging parts, of course, were like staying focused for me, just like trying not to laugh and crack up during sets, like and remembering lines, being confident in my own work, like am I doing the right thing? I always felt like I didn't have that actor's face. I have more of a baby face, soft features. Maybe I look more like a child actor that's grown up. But so I think there's the insecurities that come up through, being on camera, especially as an introvert. But it's not, like I think that those challenges are also positives for me as well. Like, 'cause it adds to the experience.
All right. Yeah, I would say that the babyface part actually played a better role because you're supposed to be the younger of the three. So, like, if you looked older than them, that would have been a challenge in the storyline for sure. You know, like some makeup, whatever the hell, to get you looking. Your character was written by a person that has never visited the UK or been, around the London scene. Even if I had visited the UK, like I wouldn't say I understood what it's like to live and be in those parts. From your point of view, did you find this character authentic? If so, why? If not, how were you able to make the character authentic?
I mean, I found the character pretty authentic. Maybe there were some aspects that is, like kind of unique, but I think that's part of the authenticity. I think also like working like closely with the director on the character, you asked me a lot of questions about Britain, about the character, and like would this be something they would say, and we kind of worked through the lines together. I think through that we were able to like get some authenticity into the character. Of course, like being Black British myself, and the character being based off that, and also adjusted to my own background as a Jamaican. I think, a lot of it resonated with me, and I could bring that into the character. I could do
There's
this
this
all day.
idea about someone can't play a character, and even in some instances, I've heard the argument that some people can't even write a character unless they are that person.
I think as a writer, like naturally, even if the character is so far removed, like intentionally so far removed from yourself, there's always going to be aspects that of yourself in them. I think it's hard to avoid, there's always going to be a piece of yourself in that character, because like they came from your imagination, your research, your perspectives of said person or said type of person. So I think there's always, even if it's not necessarily your own character, it might be your own perspective of certain people, or certain views of certain people, or politics or religions that maybe go into that. Or it might be the antithesis of that, like there might be the opposite of what of those things, like intentionally the opposite of yourself. So, which I feel is still like a reflective, still reflective of your personality.
On one of our shoots, you came from the hospital after your wife had given birth to your second child. Can you run us through that series of events?
All right, so my daughter, my youngest daughter, now at this point, like 7 months old, almost 8 months old, she was born on a Saturday, the day before the shoot, in the afternoon, just in the just before the afternoon, and I knew I had to shoot the next day, and I don't know, I just had like all this extra like nervous, exciting energy, and like I couldn't really be there at the hospitals as much as I wanted to because of course, the coronavirus, the pandemic, and I felt I needed to do something. My mother-in-law was staying with us at the time, and she agreed to look after my son. I was also I wanted to share that excitement with other people as well. So a lot of my friends being in quarantine or far away or not in the country, I guess, like being able to go to the movie set the next day and like share that with my fellow crewmates. It's just, yeah, like it was the next best thing for me. And so, yeah, it was great. It was great to go the next day and like shoot, even though like my daughter was born. Like I felt like it made me want to do something, make her proud of me, you know, like set an example. Yeah.
All right, man. Yeah, it was kind of a very strange coincidence how, like, in the storyline, your character can't be at the hospital, and then you actually live it on set in some ways.
Yeah, I think that made me like I could understand the frustration of like Evans, and I think is like that it made it easier for me to get into his character because I felt like I was him. You know, like there wasn't so much of a like almost a lot of the stories were like mirrored or like crossed over with my real story, my real life. So just telling that in the way in the way I acted, and being able to share that as well, like yeah, it's a nice experience for me.
How do you think people relate to the Evans character?
How people relate to him, I think Evans is someone who has like, he's kind of like on a cusp of like a new direction or, turning a corner in his life. He has dreams, he has ambitions, and now he has a family, he has to balance that. And then he's also in an environment where both of those things are kind of difficult. He has to rely on others a lot where, he's used to relying on himself and doing what he wants. Now he has to do more things for other people. I think like there's a kind of tension there that many people can relate to, like if they've gone through an event in their life or moved to a different place or kind of struggling to push forward in their dreams or like their ambitions, or if they're trying to balance work and life and money. I think everyone can relate to that. Everyone's kind of in the same boat, pushing in their own different hustles. So,
what do you think you brought to the film? Like, what did you bring then, say perhaps another actor would have? Like, have you play as Evans? Like, what did that mean?
I think something that I brought to the character is that, like, pretty much I was the character. Like, our stories were so similar that for me to play him was quite natural. I didn't have to put anything on. I didn't have to pretend or, I could be sincere. I think bringing that sincerity is something like that's not always so easy to bring into an acting role.
Is there an actor or list of actors that inspired you as it relates to making a short film? Like, is it somebody like?
So I mean, like I'm not like a huge film buff or anything, as you could probably tell, but in terms of like short films that made an impact on me and like acting that's made an impact on me is I remember seeing a short film called The Honey Trap, with John Boyega, who's now obviously like a big movie star of like Black British origin, but and then like Michael Ward, if you've seen like Top Boy, his performance in that was quite striking for me. I've always been a big fan of like dramas as well, like of like The Wire, for example. So like Michael K. Williams, in that, rest in peace. Yeah, and just like so, I kind of actors that I appreciate watching. I kind of try to pick up on what are the subtle details that they do, and see if I can integrate that into my performance. I don't really have the training per se, but like in music, we do a lot of imitation, and so I just kind of try to do that. Okay, what brought me to Japan? Let's see. So 4 years ago, I think after like about 5 years of being together, like my wife and I had thought we'd try living somewhere different, settle down. We lived in London, so I wanted to get to know her culture a little bit more. I was also interested in Japanese culture and learning the language, and an opportunity popped up here as well, playing a jazz, traditional Japanese fusion band. So it sounded cool to me. I thought I'd jump on. So things rolled up, things lined up, and next thing you know, I'm over here. We're over here. Yeah, then we got married, and then we had a child, my first son. He's now about 3 years old. And yeah, then, yeah, since then, I've been, doing a whole bunch, doing a whole bunch of different types of work. You know how it goes, and you move over to Japan. It's not always as easy to keep a consistent flow of income in a creative industry if you haven't got the network built. So I was still kind of building up the network. So took up some English teaching jobs, took up some tutoring, music tutoring jobs, some event jobs as well, even stacking boxes in a warehouse. So it was all experience for me, just to living in Japan, working in Japan. So it's a lot different than visiting. It's been fruitful, it's been good. Yeah, just traveling, seeing the country, taking in the culture, getting to know my wife's family as well. Most importantly, just yeah, I'm sure it's as much of a culture shock for them as it is for me. But yeah, it's all blessed, man. It's all good.
Earlier you said something about like it make people want to check out Japan or see it from a certain aspect. What are those aspects that,
Well,
let's
I
say maybe someone, I guess the best example could be like yourself being in London and not having gone to Tokyo yet?
Yeah, I mean, like the kind of perspective you get of Japan from London, or is kind of limited. You don't really see it from the point of view of what it's like to be a foreigner living in Japan, actually living, not just visiting. What it's like actually raising a family in Japan. It's not something you see in the media. So I think people will be more curious about those experiences. People are always curious about human experiences that they haven't really seen so much of.
In the end, like through it all, like meeting, chatting about the character, the lines, rehearsals, shoot again, reshoot, ad-libs, photo shoot, and now we're in post-production. Was this all worth it, so far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I say it's worth it because, like, through this whole time, I was able to gather experience that I haven't had before. I'm able to, like, for me, I think I have in my life, I have a long list of completed projects and even longer listed of incompleted projects. So just to get something to completion, I feel is always satisfying. Like to have a completed project that I invested my time into. Also meeting meeting cool guys just meeting the other guys on set, the other actors, the other crewmates. It's been a worthwhile journey just like working together with them. And definitely I'll say it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really feel like difficult in that way. Like in London, we would say if it's a long thing, innit? But it wasn't a long thing for me. It was just, it just went quickly. Even though it was long, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even though it was over a long time, it didn't feel like I was going to work. It felt like a break because it wasn't monotonous like so many of the works or projects or things that I have been doing in Japan have been. So this was a break from that, which was nice.
Would you do something like this again? Why or why not?
Yeah, man. I was even saying if Netflix, wink wink, picked it up and wanted to do Midnight Stories kind of barbershop version in Tokyo, then I'd be down to do a whole bunch of episodes, man. I'd enjoy it. Even if it did take the same duration of time, I'll do it again. I think I kind of caught the acting bug a bit from it, like stepping into a character, remembering lines, trying to interacting with other people on set. Yeah, it was fun.
It's good to hear. That's actually the same reaction I got from the other actors as well. How was it working with the other actors? You kind of answered this a little bit, gelling, but I guess we can get more into detail on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard not to laugh a lot of the times because it was just but yeah, I found that working with the other actors is obviously it's interesting because it's you have one dude from Atlanta, you have one dude from New York, right? Yeah, New York. And then you have me from London. It's it's just three different cultures kind of coming together. But it was really cool, man. They're really cool dudes.
Who would you like to see this movie if you had to pick an audience or individuals, maybe both, that you would like to see this film?
But I'd like anyone who's interested in moving to Japan to see this movie, especially if they, anyone who is open-minded. I'd like my family and my friends to see this movie, of course, too. I'd like some producers with a full wallet to see this movie too. Definitely is something I'm proud to have worked in, and it's something I'd like as many people to see as possible. I think there's some people who maybe would have a difficult time understanding, maybe if this might be rubbed the wrong way by a couple of things, but I think that's a good thing. I think if a movie can offend people, then it's more because it's asking questions that people aren't asking, you know what I mean? And I think that's a good thing. So whether, maybe there's some people who shouldn't see it, but that's up to them.
What would you say about the language of the content in terms of the world we live in today,
The language and the content. Let's see.
And how it relates to that environment that we shot it in.
Okay, so all right. So one thing I would say is in a barbershop, it's almost like a confession box. You know what I mean? Like a confession room. Yeah, semantics, but people are open and like say things that probably they might get in trouble if anyone heard it. I think language kind of reflects that. Especially when people get into talks about politics and religion and race, these are all topics that are hot, But in a barbershop, it's like a safe space where you can spar with these subjects without anyone getting too bruised. So bringing that onto film, of course, people feel, whoa, that might be too real for me. But it's how it is in a barbershop.
Who do you think shouldn't see this movie?
Snowflakes. Nah, just like, I think maybe children shouldn't see this movie, small kids, profanity and that. I think people who shouldn't see this movie. I think people who are easily offended or like can't take a joke, people who like, aren't so open-minded to ask questions, or to take things that they maybe don't agree with and then just like questioning to themselves. Like, I think those kind of people are like, people who shouldn't see the movie. It's not like, I'd rather like it doesn't cause too much conflict. So if that's you, then yeah, you don't need to watch it.
Certain racial terms or words that outside of, let's say, hip hop, you just don't even hear them. In entertainment or general widespread way.
Use of, okay, so like I think if we're referring to the N-word,
That's one of them, yeah.
Yeah, okay. One of them, I think words come with baggage, but the words themselves are, innocent. The intentions say otherwise. Sometimes, if something is offensive, then you should be offended more by the intention than its presence, or the lack of attention. Like, I think something can be offensive because of the lack of attention to that baggage or to that history of that word. The word itself, I feel like is, we shouldn't be limited, shouldn't limit creativity. But I think the person who's creating should, always be like have clear intent when they use words.
Is there anything you'd like to say to add to it, like in terms of like whatever? That's really all I
Anything? Generally, like, I think that the concept of the movie of this film has a lot of potential that can spin off into other projects. I think everyone would be, after watching this film, would be curious what happens with the characters next, or not. I don't know, but just based on the writing, I think I got into the characters a lot. I think the characters were written with to be complex and have full lives and full backgrounds, and I'd like to see like a Uzochi backstory, like how was he when he got to Japan, like certain things like that I'm curious about. So yeah, I think the story was, the story of this film is, something that would leave a lot to the imagination as well.